Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Franchise Interviews, where for over 4 years we've been asking the entrepreneurs who own one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you ever dreamed about owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. We have a great show today. We're meeting with Fiesta Auto Insurance. And Fiesta Auto Insurance is the nation's only franchise system to combine insurance and tax preparation under one roof. And that's coming up in segment 2 of Franchise Interviews. We're also meeting with Nancy Weingartner from our favorite magazine, Franchise Times. That's coming up.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Who's helping build America one small business at a time? Franchise Inc., a free consulting service.
For years, Franchise Inc., a national company, has been helping people franchise their business concept and help folks like you own a franchise.
With over 2,500 franchise systems out there, it can be awfully confusing. Don't take chances with your future. At Franchise Inc., we've done the homework for you. We can help match your interests and background with the franchise that's right for you. And we only work with proven franchise systems with a solid reputation and track record of success.
The consultants at Franchise Inc. can help you with your short and long-term wealth strategy.
Give us a call today and we'll send you free our best-selling book, Solving the Puzzle of Owning a Franchise.
Remember, it's not just owning a franchise, but finding the right one for you. Call us at 800-961-0420 for a quick consultation to discuss what's important to you, your business, and your future.
The service is free. The book is free. What do you have to lose? Find the business that's right for you.
Call Franchise Inc. at 800-961-0420. That's Franchise Inc. at 800-961-0420.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the entrepreneurs who own one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. How you doing today, Don? Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm doing fine this week, Marty. How about yourself? How are you?
Good, hanging in. Struggling a bit with the voice today, as I was saying a little earlier before the show. Feeling a bit run down, but excited to do the show nevertheless. The show must always go on, right?
Right.
Well, I want to hit that 200 mark too, Don. So there's no vacation for you and I. You know, it's like
we're dying to hit that magic number.
Yeah, this show. You know, so it's and that's just in like 3 weeks. You know, it's going to be our 200th show, 4 years, and I guess we can announce now we're going to have Michael Gerber on that show.
Right.
You know, a bunch of old friends and things like that. So, yeah, that's always a fun show. And we always do that traditionally the day before Thanksgiving. You know,
right.
So it's always kind of fun to.
Funny how it's worked out. I think we did our first show ever in November. I think our 100th show was around. Yeah, it seems like we do at least around 50 shows a year, which is a lot of shows.
Consistently 50 shows per year, you know. So it's incredible, you know. It's
right.
And here we are, 4 years later, still doing it, you know, and it's just amazing. So it's been a lot of fun. Our last show, Don, we met with Dennis Melganin, Director of Franchising for Junk King Franchise Opportunity. These guys were founded in 2005. Junk King has become America's fastest-growing full-service junk removal franchise concept, meeting the demand for affordable and dependable service to clear clutter and unwanted items from homes and also businesses. They had multiple revenue streams, didn't they? I thought they were a fascinating concept. I was really interested in them.
What I thought was interesting, Marty, is you think of Junk King and garbage and junk, but like what Dennis said, it's a white-collar business for someone to own. I mean, again, it's a franchise where you're managing people. You know, you're managing a service.
Right.
You're not actually doing that type of work yourself. But I'm actually surprised there's maybe not a couple more franchises that do this type of work because everybody is overloaded with stuff. So people have stuff to throw out. I know myself a couple of years ago we had to use a similar service. We just had so much stuff. I
remember that. Yeah.
We just had to get rid of it. And I guess people willing to pay for it and. As the population grows, there's just going to be more stuff that people want to get rid of. That's where Junk King can come in.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's there's this show that my wife watches. It's called Hoarders, and it's like I guess this disease where people just kind of collect junk, and their house becomes filled with so much junk you can't even move in the house. And typically, what happens is a franchise like Junk King will come in and remove almost everything from the home, but it's, businesses too. I didn't think about that too. There's a lot of businesses out there too, Don. Especially here, I could drive by Easton, Pennsylvania, that we drive by, and you say, God, it looks like there's so much junk in there.
Right.
In their facility.
A lot of times people get rid of stuff that's not really considered junk. We talked to Dennis about that. I guess they have a charity set up. I guess they make a lot of donations.
Well, that's where we were talking about too. That other revenue stream, right? I mean, they were selling like recycled material,
right?
And selling it back. Is that how it worked?
Not sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I just know that they have a green aspect to it, and that, with just so much stuff and junk that they have, I mean, not all of it's going to be stuff that is, actually 100% junk and you just want to get rid of. And I thought it was interesting that they put that to good use because there's so many people out there in need. And I'm surprised, and I like they only been in business since 2005.
Yeah, it's not a long time.
So far, they have a lot of activity going on. A lot of people interested in going into this business. So I'm sure Dennis has been staying pretty busy.
It sounded like it from speaking with him. I think when we had the show a couple of weeks ago, it was 16 locations I think they had, and I think Dennis actually closed a deal right before he was on break, I think, on hold on the show, So it was just a fascinating concept to me, It's, again, I didn't know a lot about this particular type of franchise opportunity, but I think, as you said earlier on, I think there's that misperception, isn't there? When you think of Junk King, you don't think of this as a white-collar franchise opportunity, but it is. I was definitely convinced it was. And I said, man, accountants would love this model. When you look at the financial statements, Don, it just makes a lot of sense, So I like to, as we say, let's keep our eye on these guys and watch as they continue to grow. It's they're going to have.
We'll stay in touch. Dennis is a friend of us on the show, and I'm Sure.
Yeah, he's very much involved in franchising too. He does a lot of different things too, and he's a very good speaker too.
Right.
We have him on the show. He's very motivated and enthusiastic. So he's a good guy all around. So yeah. So what do we have going on today? I know we have a couple of things going on today, don't we? It's a busy day today.
Yeah, John Rost, president of Fiesta Auto Insurance, coming on.
That's
I don't think we've never had a auto insurance or really insurance in general franchise on the show. So we're excited to hear all about their business model and how things are going. And then our friend Nancy Weingartner from Franchise Times Magazine will be probably coming on shortly. And we haven't spoken to her in a few weeks, so.
Yeah, absolutely. This is always fun to have on the show. It's Fiesta Auto Insurance too, Don. They and researching them. They also they're into tax services as well.
Yeah.
So that makes sense too, doesn't it? I mean, I think you might see a trend in franchising where, why not offer multiple services? Instead of just insurance. It's just nice to have the taxes too. I mean, if you have that relationship with the customer, doesn't it make sense to offer an additional service like that? You and I have spoken about that on the show before. I think that's going to be a new trend in franchising.
I remember meeting them, Marty, at I think it was a franchise show just within the last year. I remember Fiesta was there.
Okay, I don't think I've met them before.
They're trying to get the word out, of course.
Okay, good. All right, good. And I know you had a quick article that we wanted to get to quickly before we'll bring Nancy in then.
Yeah, okay, good. This is entrepreneur.com, the best economic indicator for small business owners by Carol Tice. These are boggling times for those who review study data about the economy and about how small business owners feel about the economy. We were just talking about this before the show, kind of economy in general. It seems as if a new study comes out daily and that many of these studies contradict each other. However, I've hit on one economic indicator that is likely going to be the most reliable gauge of your particular business's prospects as we slump slowly towards the end of 2010. Can't believe this. It's getting towards the end of the year. Can't believe how quickly this year has gone. So it says from American Express Open Small Business Monitor released yesterday, it says we learn optimism is dimming. 45% of entrepreneurs have a positive outlook on the economy, down from 55% last fall. In the same study, though, the number of business owners looking to hire full-time workers doubled from 5 to 10%. And the proportion saying that they plan to grow their business in the next 6 months went up as well. Fewer owners reported that they had cash flow worries.
Interesting.
Boggling, isn't it? The study seems to give more mixed signals. That's just one study. Over at the Guardian Life Small Business Research Institute, recent data shows owners are considerably more optimistic than they were a year ago. The National Federation of Independent Business Owners, however, finds the level of owner optimism more or less flat. More owners reported to NFIB that they plan to cut staff. But Discover Small Business Watch counters that idea, reporting that a 3-month-long slide in business owners' confidence ended in September and is now on an upswing. However, the vast majority of owners, 73%, said they put hiring on hold. So I guess we have things just all over the place. A lot of different studies. The economy's still rough. Some people more optimistic, not as much. A lot of inconsistency, and that's really been, I guess a good word for 2010. It's just, I guess everybody's still a little surprised that this slump has still gone on this long. The times are still rough, and unemployment's still high. But we've had many franchisors on the show just in the last couple of months where, they had growth, and it seems like they haven't even been affected by the economy, which is pretty crazy. Even some franchises in food.
Yeah.
And with so much competition when food, which is more than ever, you just have to make sure you go with the franchise system that has history, strong management. They have a popular brand and strength, and, it's a lot to consider when investing in a franchise. But I guess in time things will start getting better, and some of these entrepreneurs and small business owners will start feeling better and start hiring again.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Don. I mean, because we've had, a lot of times when the show ends, I always feel sometimes uplifted, and enthusiastic. I mean, a lot of these franchises have said, last year may have been one of their best years. And you say, God. It depends what source you're getting your information from sometimes, Again, obviously the economy is not great. I mean, that's obvious. But Yeah, I mean, a lot of these, certain types of franchise systems, it was their best year yet, so
right.
It really is fascinating when you hear these studies. You can make the statistics, I think, say anything you want sometimes.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's a great article.
Here's something, Marty, through Newsweek. I don't know how much we can get through this. Building a Better Franchise by Julie Halpert. Successful franchise owners of Five Guys Burgers and Fries and Plato's Closet share how to get a franchise business off the ground right.
Mm-hmm.
Launching a new franchise in a post-recession world might seem like a scary move, but with a few smart choices, it's possible to do it successfully. So how do you get off to the right foot? We spoke to two successful franchise owners who shared their thoughts. First, Roberta Hypes owns a Plato's Closet in Vermont, where she sells used clothing and accessories and averages more than $2 million in sales a year. It's pretty incredible. It starts off, sell what you know. Hype says it helps to pick a franchise in an industry that you're familiar with. Prior to owning Plato's Closet, she successfully ran another used clothing store, so branching into used teen clothing was a natural progression.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I guess that can always help, although you have to follow the guidelines of that franchise. But she had a little bit of experience. But, a lot of times franchisors are recruiting people, who don't have any experience. Franchisor a lot of times prefers that.
That's a debate too. Get into a franchise that you're familiar with. I don't know about that one. We get different opinions on that. A lot of times you'll get an accountant that goes into a sign franchise. Or somebody that was in the sign business that goes into Liberty Tax. And sometimes those guys make the most successful franchisees. So I don't know. About that one. I understand why she says it.
But I guess the franchisor has to decide, is this person too entrepreneurial? Is she not going to be happy following the Plato's Closet system?
Right.
She's used to being on her own. She might say, hey, I want to do things this way. So I guess that was something they probably spoke about before she moved forward. But the franchisee must have saw a lot of the benefits and ways of doing business better than what she had. Maybe ways of getting access to what she sells at a better price and higher profit margin. But you're right, that is an interesting debate. The next is play to the times. The effect of the recession aren't going anywhere soon. So offer a business that consumers can appreciate in this economy. Hype's product fits into the theme nicely since our store offers clothing for 30% off the retail price, appealing to bargain hunters. Survey your location. There are certain areas that will respond better to a product than others. Study the demographics in your target area, everything from age range to income brackets to determine whether there are enough potential customers. You need to make sure there are enough people to support your business before you even think of opening it, she says.
Yeah, there's homework involved in this whole thing, Don, isn't there? It's a lot of work, So it sounds like a fascinating article, something I'd like to finish last week. If you're a frequent listener to our weekly radio show, then you know what fans we are, our Franchise Times magazine. And today we have the privilege of, again, meeting with Nancy Weingartner, executive editor of Franchise Times magazine. Hey, Nancy, how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Good. It's great to hear your voice, Nancy. It's been a while. I guess it's almost been a couple months, right, Don, since we spoke with Nancy. I know
Nancy, nice to have you back on. I think it's been a few weeks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
How have your travels been? Have you been traveling anywhere the last month and a half or so? You're always going off somewhere interesting.
Yeah, I went to the American Bar Association in San Diego, actually in Coronado, which was not bad. Funny thing is, the weather was nicer in Minnesota than it was in San Diego, which we don't get to brag about that very often.
Right.
Yes, that is so true. Oh, God, that's something.
Yeah, San Diego's beautiful, yeah. And it was funny, Nancy, remember they had the IFA show there just a couple of years ago, San Diego, and all my life I've heard how great the weather was, and I don't know if you remember or if you were there at that show, IFA, a couple of years ago, but it was rainy weather, just really miserable. Those couple of days, I just couldn't believe it. It's probably we just got unlucky with a few of the days we were there, but overall a beautiful city and great weather normally.
San Diego might not like franchising. It seems to rain on us a lot.
That's a good way to look at it. It's funny. Don and I were talking before the show, Nancy. It was you had a great interview you did with Dave, was it Gladkowski, the Hardee's franchisee. That was a great article. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because if anyone missed the article, I think it's definitely a must-read.
Oh, thank you. Dave is a great guy. He's a very modest man. You would never know just talking to him how much he's really accomplished. But I liked the fact that they had that Minnesota group that's looking into lobbying on the local level, which they were promoting that other cities might look into that too. Because it's one thing to do it on the national level, which is very important, but how many of those local ordinances really affect your business? And Dave was just involved with so many different groups nationally and then locally, and still running a very successful business. So, kudos to him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he had an interesting background, too, didn't he, Nancy? I was reading about all the different things he did. As I remember reading about the microwave and the truck and the refrigerator and all these cool different things.
That fascinated me. Yeah, the fact that you would be roaming around a neighborhood looking for somebody to phone in an order so you could bring them a home-cooked meal. I thought that was amazing. And the fun thing he said was they just had a budget, just do it. And, of course, that's why it only lasted 2 years. And they decided they couldn't keep doing it. The food costs were too high. But, he was a very interesting interview. I enjoyed him.
It seems like it, yeah.
We were talking, Nancy, I don't know if you heard, we're just going over some economic data with the rough economy, but some of the recent franchisors we've had on the show and a lot of these franchise, multi-unit owners like Dave, seem like they're thriving during these times and adding units and growing, and you would think times are rough, but I guess this is where franchising maybe has a little bit of the advantage that maybe they're still getting quality food at a good price and they're used to going to certain types of businesses. They're not going to really stop going to like a Hardee's at all. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, and I think a lot of the good operators right now and franchise systems are looking at ways they can streamline, save costs, get that food costs down a little bit. And by doing that, I think they're able to kind of eke food. I was talking to this Minnesota group, and you're not making a lot on your dollar. I think they're saying something like 5 cents on every dollar. And so every penny becomes really crucial, turning off the lights, not having any theft. You just have to just really be involved. And I think the good operators are the ones who are going into the stores every day. And that was when I went with Dave and went to 2 or 3 different restaurants. I mean, that wasn't just for me. That's something that he does all the time, he and his partner.
Now did he make you? Did he make you pay for lunch, or he got you some free food?
He got me some free food, so I did buy the drinks during the photo shoot. But
it's always interesting meeting with people and
staged.
Just meeting with people, seeing their story, their background, how they became successful, why they went into franchising. I'm sure it's always pretty fascinating for you. And Marty and I always love seeing the top 200 franchise chains also in the October issue. That's all. I'm shocked McDonald's came in number 1. Aren't you?
Well, that was our big news. So it kind of broke that news, I think. Well, the interesting thing is they're being challenged by 7-Eleven and in units by Subway. So one day we might see that actually will be big news that they aren't number 1. But I think they're probably going to stay up there.
Right. Well, I know Subway's not going to relent. I mean, they have plans to just still build hundreds or thousands of units. I mean, there's no stopping them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
Well, we've got our restaurant finance conference coming up in November, and so that's going to be interesting to see. I think financing is starting to loosen up a little bit, so it'll be interesting. It's a huge number of sponsors this year and kind of a lot of buzz about it, so I think maybe times are going to get a little bit better, hopefully.
Right.
So I'm going to go to the West Coast Franchise Expo and then just fly directly into Las Vegas for our show, so that'll be kind of a whirlwind time.
Yeah, you got some good things coming up. Just don't get sidetracked while you're in Las Vegas, though. You got to concentrate on business, though.
Well, I am trying to up my finances when I'm there, and that has not happened yet. slot machine.
So what else? So as far as next issue or some interesting or possibly your own storyline for next month, what are some of the things that you or Franchise Times are working on, Nancy?
Well, we've got the November-December issue that just went to bed, and it's a really fun issue. We've got a lot of people stories in it, a lot of success stories, and a lot of great personalities that are going to be in it. On the cover is Junior Bridgman, who owns a lot of Wendy's and Chili's. His 2 children are on the cover. They're in the business now. Third son is going to join them. And it was really interesting because I've always wanted to interview Junior Bridgman, who was a basketball player for
the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good one. Player. Yeah, modest man, never really wanted to be in the spotlight. And I met his daughter, and through the daughter, I was able to convince him to let us do a story on the family. And they're a wonderful example. I think my children turned out really well, but sometimes I wish Junior and his wife Doris had raised my children too, because they were just very humble and funny, but they just seem to get along. I don't see them punching each other in the back seat of the car like mine did.
Yeah, my 6-year-olds are starting to get into it a lot. My wife and I are yelling a lot more the last year. It's interesting. I mean, I've read here or there just a lot of ex-athletes owning franchises and doing quite well. I guess that's the route they took, whether it was on recommendation from their accountant or their agent or whatever, but it seems like a lot of ex-athletes have done well in franchising.
There's some groups now that are targeting that, and they're actually, I had gone to a conference earlier in the summer, I think it's the Allied Athletes Group, where they're actually educating athletes, some that are active and some that are retired, about how to get into franchising. And the thing that I found was interesting is that whole message was, don't think you can sit on the bench and be a franchisee. You've got to be active in your business. And I think some that appealed to and others were thinking, no, that's just not the way I don't want to operate a business. I want to just have an investment. So that's, 2 different franchisees to go after. Right.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Yeah, so we look forward to reading about that. I think he was an all-star, too, Junior Bridgman. He played, I think, back in the 80s.
I remember the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And we've got this great picture of him going for a basket over the Celtics, Larry Bird. So that was kind of exciting. Back in the days where they wore the really tight shorts and from today.
Right.
Junior might not like that picture too much.
Oh, fantastic.
And what happens with that? Do the people have do they have the final say on which picture gets put on the cover, or you just choose the
we choose.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Most of the time I think they're okay with it because we're looking for the most flattering picture too, but we've had a couple of times I think they would have liked different pictures. And then Doris Bridgman.
Should Mary Jo put you on the cover shortly?
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for.
I keep wondering. We've got 20 to Watch coming up in January, and she hasn't put my name in for that. I don't understand that.
I'm just shocked that you haven't been on the cover yet.
I'll have to talk to her about that.
Like maybe the 3 of us should go on the cover.
There you go. Nancy, we have about 30 seconds. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information on Franchise Times? Are there any websites they can go to or any numbers they can call?
Sure can. They can go to www.franchisetimes.com, and they can email me at nancyw@franchisetimes.com.
That's fantastic. I want to thank you again, Nancy. You're always such a wonderful guest, and Don and I are looking forward to having you back again next month to talk about what's going on at Franchise Times.
Thanks,
well,
Nancy.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks,
have a good day.
Have a great day. She's
you
wonderful,
too.
Isn't she, Don?
Yeah, but we don't want to have her get a big head over this. That we're always.
There you go. Why don't we do this, Don? I see our guest has called in, so we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Okay, you've got my attention.
It's a rare event in the world of franchising when an opportunity comes your way that can and will thrive in almost any economic environment. It's here, and its name is Big Mouth Advertising.
Big Mouth.
BMA is a leader in the exciting world of mobile media advertising. Why is mobile media advertising able to defy the economic cycles? The answer is obvious. In times of economic weakness, advertising is crucial for survival as the consumer dollar is scarce and the competition fierce. What is mobile media? It's the newest and fastest growing segment in the advertising world. Mobile media brings the message directly to the consumer. Mobile media goes to the consumer in traffic, where he eats and where he plays. It quite simply cannot be turned off or thrown out. And when you join the Big Mouth team as a franchisee, you are joining the best. The Big Mouth advantage is simple and successful. We invest in a strong infrastructure and in great people. As a franchisee, you have access to this entire system, including telemarketing, sales maximization, general and administrative support, design and creative services, even billing and collection services. All you need is a mobile media vehicle, a driver, and the willingness to create a financially sound and limitless business for yourself. There are no long-term leases to sign, no expensive build-outs, no office personnel to hire. You will be part of the Big Mouth advertising community and share its entire website and reception services, as well as its complete back-office services. This virtual office guarantees you the freedom to close those sales that will make you a success. We are so proud of our successes that we have voluntarily disclosed our revenue statements. Now, how many other franchises are doing that? Even in these historically rough financial times, Big Mouth advertising has become a dominant force in the mobile media industry. Join the Big Mouth team and take the first step toward financial freedom. Please call Ron at 888-98-GO-BIG. That's 888-98-GO-BIG. Big Mouth! Need a business loan? Talk to Diamond Financial Services, the experts in franchise financing nationwide. Whether you're looking to start a franchise, acquire an existing franchise, or expand your territory through opening new locations, Diamond Financial stands by your side start to finish. From pre-qualification to packaging and presenting your application to securing a financial commitment and through the loan closing process, Diamond Financial is there. While you're waiting, thousands of others are making their financial dreams come true. Don't wait any longer. Pre-qualify now by completing a confidential, no-obligation financial analysis. Let's face it, traditional banks just aren't in the business of financing small business. At Diamond Financial, we specialize in securing franchise loans from $100,000 to $3 million and equipment leasing up to $150,000. Let us help you get started. Go to www.franchisefunding.net or call 877-508-2274. That's franchisefunding.net, 877-508-2274.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the entrepreneurs who want one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. As we were saying earlier, Don, we got a great show today because we're meeting with John Rost, president of Fiesta Auto Insurance. And Fiesta Auto Insurance is the nation's only franchise system to combine insurance and tax preparation under one roof, providing a one-stop shop for the budget-minded consumer. And I think we lost John during the breakdown, so I'm hoping that he's going to call in the next couple of minutes. So
yeah, no problem. I get back to this article about this building a better franchise. Remember, we were speaking about this franchisee up in Vermont, and she's kind of giving some tips on how her experience has gone. She next talked about pick the right partners. When you're getting a franchise off the ground, it's important to have a loyal team. She says, who runs her store with her sister and mother. For her, family is the best option. Each family member has a different responsibility in the business. We trust each other, and we all have a vested interest. And that's really another argument, whether to go in business with family. But I guess if they all have some ownership interest and they're a close family, and like maybe they've done business before this particular franchise, and that could be a good thing, you know. I mean, you don't have to worry about. I mean, there's trust and loyalty, and people not stealing from you and so forth. So, that's a pretty tough decision. Taking on a partner or going into business with family, something you just have to be careful about. There's definitely some pros and cons to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, good news, John. I think it looks like John has called in. Hey, John, how are you?
Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, John. Well, it looks like we lost you on the break, but I'm glad we got you back. So, John, joining us is my co-host, Don Johnson, and Don is the president of Diamond Financial Services. And I know, Don, you wanted to say good morning to John.
Yeah, John, appreciate you coming on the show. We're interested in hearing all about Fiesta and how that business model came about and how things are going so far. I know it's a young franchise, so look forward to having you on and hearing about it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate this.
Good.
John, we always like asking our guests where you're calling from today, so this way we can get an idea of what the weather is there.
Well, this morning we're calling in from Huntington Beach, California. We've got a beautiful sunny day out here. It's probably going to be in the 70s.
Oh, that's fantastic. John, can you describe the history of Fiesta Auto Insurance?
Well, Fiesta Auto Insurance has been a franchise concept now that's been around for the last 4 years. Originally, the first 2 years, it was just here in California. And then 2 years ago, this coming January, we opened it up to be around the rest of the U.S. We'll probably have about 120 locations open by the beginning of January, and locations will probably be somewhere in around 16, 17 different states. So we've been able to grow quite well, especially considering, the economic times that we've all been dealing with for the last 2, 3, 4 years.
Right.
So why is the franchise growing? I mean, what's the business model? What are the services, John?
Well, our business model is basically taking a full-service insurance agency and combining that also with the retail tax preparation side of the business. So we've got a model where we're open year-round. We are servicing more towards the Hispanic and that blue-collar part of the population. We're not dealing with the preferred or the affluent community. So we're going after a community that still prefers to come in and deal with people on a daily basis or on a face-to-face basis. They're walking into our retail stores. They're taking care of insurance transactions. And then on top of that, we'll take care of the tax preparation during the tax season, which really gives us an advantage over the other tax-only models. Those individual models, they're stuck seeing their customer one time a year and then doing their best to have the kind of service that will allow that customer to come back 12 months later. We have an opportunity to be able to be in front of our customer on a monthly basis and really bring in two very solid revenue streams. So it's a great setup.
Yeah, it really
I like
is.
how you do that.
It makes sense, Don. Because you were saying, John, in taxes you only get to see that customer really once per year. So it's pretty difficult, I think, to have a relationship, or a strong relationship anyway with those customers. So I love how you guys added this service to it, or it's in sync anyway with the tax service. It just makes so much sense. That the business model to me just fascinated me, which is why Don and I were so excited to have you guys on the show today.
Well, thanks. And with automation today, both in the insurance industry and the tax preparation, both of them are using the exact same tools. So the capital that the individual franchisee puts into the location is shared across the board with the insurance services and the tax preparation.
That's fantastic.
And how about your background real quick, John? What were you doing before Fiesta?
Sure. Well, I started Fiesta actually out here in California now. It'll be almost 13 years ago. Opened up the first group of locations in January, February of '99. And before that, I had started as a young entrepreneur in Arizona. Started with one insurance office and also combining that with tax preparation, probably going back now around 17 years. Built that up to a chain of 22 stores in Arizona, Nevada. Sold that company, and then that's when I moved out here to the L.A. market. And then just started to build up the business, and then really came up with the franchise concept 4 years ago. So I've been involved in this part of the industry now for around 17 years, and certainly have enjoyed it, and really specializing in that blue-collar part of the community, whether it was the African-American, the Anglo, and then certainly the Hispanic, which, for most people know out here in California and a lot of states it is the fastest-growing demographic across the country, and it's virtually 50% of the population here in California.
Now, why did you think that franchising was the right business model to go with Fiesta? What made you make your decision, John?
Well, it's interesting. I think the original decision was almost out of survival mode. In this industry, as a mom-and-pop insurance agency, we're really dealing with a number of challenges over the last decade where insurance companies were actually paying us lower and lower commissions. At the same time, we're dealing with our expenses going up on an annual basis. Payroll, rents, utilities, advertising becomes less and less effective as there's so many different things to choose from out there. So when I was sitting here in the LA market looking at this and saying, well, how do I manage to turn the tide the other direction where now insurance companies would embrace us, want to actually provide higher commissions, increase that revenue stream, lower the operating costs? It just seemed like a natural fit. Franchising has done that across the country and so many other business models, and it really didn't exist in our model. And this gives somebody who's looks at the idea of being an individual insurance agency owner or somebody with retail store experience an opportunity to come in. Now we have products. We have, in some states, we're dealing with 50 to 70 different insurance companies representing their products. Insurance commission rates have now gone up anywhere from maybe 30 to 50% in some states because of the kind of volume that we're able to provide those carriers. And, of course, then, just as in most franchise models, we can lower the operating expenses for the franchise owner.
And it seems like it's working, kind of targeting, blue-collar areas like what you're talking about. I guess in any business you got to find a niche and a specialty, and you kind of have two niches and target a certain area. So I guess that seems to be working.
And it's really not much of a niche when you think about it as far as the demographics and the population. We're really going after what is the majority of the population. We're dealing with that middle to lower income part, and that's everywhere across the country. When you take a look at the tax preparation side, many people just do not feel comfortable going to grab that TurboTax and doing the tax preparation on their own, especially those people that are maybe towards that lower income area, which also typically is defined by maybe less likely to have that college degree or an MBA. So when you look at tax preparation these days and how complicated that can be, it's just a perfect fit for that community to use us both for insurance services and tax preparation. Right.
Now, I think this is a typo. There's something here about mountain climbing? Is that what you do for fun?
Well, certainly I've had a lot of experience doing that. I tend to be more of an adventure individual or adventure guy, as some people have said, and I love to take vacations and kind of incorporate the idea of traveling around the world as well as doing something that is very challenging. And back a few years ago, I decided to start climbing some mountains and ended up doing what's called the 7 Summits, and was very fortunate to be able to climb the highest mountain on every continent a few years ago, which of course includes summiting Mount Everest, and was at that time was the 35th American and fewer than 100 people in the world that had accomplished that. And then always on to something else. Built my own airplane as an experimental airplane and had fun flying that around the country as well. So there's always different adventures going on, and even this business is a fantastic adventure for us all.
So you're a bit of a risk taker, and I think most good entrepreneurs and business people, you always got to take on some risks. So that kind of parallels each other, and so I think that's an interesting part of it. What's the next steps, I guess, for Fiesta? What are your goals toward the end of the year into next year? Just keep adding some good quality franchisees, John?
We're certainly looking to add more locations where it's appropriate. We also have area development opportunities. We've just actually finished up our first area development opportunity here in Southern California for a section. And so we have a number of opportunities going on there. But I think we want to continue to work on defining our system and really taking a look at systems created by great companies out there like McDonald's or Subway, and the whole fast food industry has had just great examples. So we want to continue to define the system within our franchise so that it helps our franchise owners to be able to relate to the customers, obviously bring in more consumers. We use that in a number of different ways that are very unique, help in that entire selling process. So we have quite a bit that's coming out over the next 6 months that we believe that will really help our franchise owners be that much more successful. And it's already very exciting because we can see now with franchise owners that have been in business for their 3rd, 4th year, the kind of revenue they're bringing in, as well as we now have franchise owners that have anywhere from maybe 2 to 6 individual locations. And the systems that we have in place, the automation, the back office accounting, the agency management system, really does give a franchise owner an opportunity to have multiple locations without having a lot of those headaches of individual ownership.
That's interesting.
And what type of franchisee are you looking for as far as their characteristics, so forth? I guess you're being a little more careful who, what type of person you want to be a Fiesta franchisee, John?
Well, absolutely. I think we're all very eager when we start something up like this, and maybe at times we grab a hold of those that want to come in that may not be the best individual in the end. We're certainly looking more for an entrepreneur. So it's not necessarily somebody that has an insurance background. And what we did find is some people with an insurance background perhaps didn't really embrace the whole idea of running a business. They may have been good at sales, but not really the idea of running a business. So now we're looking for really people that are see themselves as entrepreneurs, maybe even less likely to see themselves actually involved in the transaction process. If you buy a McDonald's franchise, most people who buy that type of system don't picture themselves flipping burgers and making French fries. They plan on running this business, and they have kind of a different way of looking at that. And we're really looking at it the same way. So we're looking at for entrepreneurs who want to come in, take a look at having at least 3 units in their local area that services the customer that we're going after, and we're doing very well with that.
Good.
That's interesting. One of the things I want to get back to, John, in studying entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, your sense of adventure, has it helped you in business? And if so, how has it helped you?
I think when you take a look at doing the kind of adventures, especially some of the ones where your life is literally on the line, I think you learn to kind of balance, and I think that's maybe one of the biggest things that I really enjoy. That entrepreneurship, at the same time, you're taking a risk, but you want to do it in a prudent way. You don't want to be foolish about things. I joke that even when I climbed, to the summit of Mount Everest, if there were fixed lines there available to lock into, and you're on a mountain like that, you're gone for 6-7 weeks on that mountain. You're still utilizing those things, that you're still using whatever means of safety is out there. And same thing with being an entrepreneur. I mean, you just cannot be foolish with your investment, your capital, whatever it is you're planning on doing. So we always want to be doing things that still is prudent, still has certainly there's going to be a risk associated. We want to minimize that as much as possible. And certainly, the franchise system itself is a way to minimize risk for entrepreneurs. I think that in itself is a great example.
Yeah,
but I'm not a Vegas guy. I'm not one of those guys that would go throw money down on black. I look at that as kind of a ridiculous risk. So
that's fantastic. John, we have to take a quick break. Are you able to stick around for another segment?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
That's fantastic. We'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Franchise Interviews. For over 2 years now, Franchise Interviews has been giving you an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship.
Through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising.
And our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisors, franchisees, franchise authors, experts, and attorneys.
And our free franchise newsletter, which is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise.
And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919.
That's 610-905-2919. Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the entrepreneurs who own one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you ever dream of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. We have a great show today. We're meeting with John Rost, who is the president of Fiesta Auto Insurance. And Fiesta Auto Insurance is the nation's only franchise system to combine insurance and tax preparation under one roof. And Don, I think you're up.
Yeah, John, maybe talk about technology with your industry. Has that played a role in Fiesta at all?
Absolutely. It's really made a significant difference in a number of different ways. For one, we have our own agency management platform, so all of our offices work in virtually a paperless office environment. Using the web, our franchise owners can be anywhere in the world, and with an internet connection, they can instantly see exactly what the productivity is at each one of their locations. So agency management system there works really well. Obviously, we have automation involved in the tax preparation side of the business. It allows you to put everything in, and very quickly, all those calculations that, of course, we have to deal with from the government side are immediately run through that system, print out that return, take care of that, electronically file it with the IRS, including having the bank products where the individual can turn around and we can print out that check for the customer. But what's really interesting, and I don't know if a lot of people know this on the insurance side, a lot of people think that the insurance side, dealing with all these different carriers, how can you possibly quote these different companies all at one time? But there's actually products out there. There's actually software programs that we utilize in all of our offices, and it really helps in that selling process of dealing with the consumer, because the customer comes in, we're able to take their information, put it into the computers, and immediately get a quote from all the different carriers that we're dealing with, so that the consumer and our franchise owner or their sales team is able to turn around and look at maybe 25 different insurance carriers, give them what is the best product for them based on the different underwriting requirements or what the needs are of the customer. And you can do that entire process of completing an entire policy, quoting, complete that policy in maybe 15, 20 minutes, and that's all because of that automation.
Right. Talk a little bit about training for the franchisees. How does that go?
Well, training is one of our big improvements, I think, that we've had in place this year. Now every one of our franchise owners comes in for a full week of training at our corporate headquarters, and it really gives them an opportunity to not just learn how to push buttons and fill in the blanks, but really to understand the entire concept, to have a good feel for the entire concept, the marketing, exactly how to go about operating their location on a daily basis. Continue to follow that up with additional programs such as webinars, our fiestauniversity.com that has all these different webinars and these modules there. So when the franchise owner goes back to their location, they now have an opportunity to be able to show the same type of training that they received in person. Their staff, their employees can sit down in front of the computer, go to this fiestauniversity.com, see the same type of training, experience that. And in addition, we have the benefit of all the different insurance companies wanting to come in. Obviously, different insurance companies, big names like Progressive that people certainly hear of. They certainly want to encourage franchise owners to sell their product, offer that to the consumers. And so they get additional training coming in from the actual carriers themselves that will go over some of the individual nuances from one product to another. And really, we're much more than just doing auto insurance. We can do the homeowners, renters, we can do recreational vehicles, commercial. A lot of our business or franchise owners get involved in writing commercial business policies. And so they have a full-service agency. Auto insurance is the thing that everybody has to deal with, so that's what brings people in. And then when they're in front of our sales team, they can then take a look at what other type of opportunities exist to take care of the needs of that customer.
Man, it's a great strategy. What's a typical day like for a franchisee, John? How would you describe that?
Our offices are retail, so kind of different than maybe what some other people might think about on the insurance side. We're going to be in retail shopping centers, or we are in retail shopping centers, 800 to 1,200 square feet. So our franchises open up at 9 o'clock in the morning. They close at 7 o'clock in the evening. Mm-hmm. And using the different marketing techniques that are going on an ongoing basis with that location, consumers are walking in, and mostly the customer's walking in and says, hey, I need to get a quote for insurance. I need to get this taken care of. How can you help me? It's a very nice, easygoing conversation with bringing the customer in, sitting in front of the franchise owner's desk, and then just going through this conversation, building that rapport with the consumer, answering their questions, getting those different answers that we need, producing that policy, giving that, first course, coming up with that quote, produce that policy. Everything migrates right into that agency management system. 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, that customer's leaving. They now have insurance. They've got coverage for whatever their needs were. At the end of the day, our franchise owners, they pull one report off of our agency management system. It shows exactly how much money they've brought in, how much money needs to get deposited into the premium trust account, because obviously those dollars are clearing out to the different insurance carriers. They make a deposit using our special pre-coded deposit slips. They're done. Their focus is on the selling and on the revenue creation. Their team comes back in the next day, is now dealing again with consumers that are coming in, making payments, endorsements, writing new policies. And, of course, we're always excited with the tax season. We're in the side of the business where our people are excited to see tax season coming on because they've got those customers that they are dealing with all year round that obviously have to deal with taxes. And we do quite a bit of volume there in that first month from January 15th right through the end of February.
One thing that's nice about insurance, one thing we maybe haven't emphasized enough is that investor or franchisee having that residual income from being in insurance. That's always a big selling point as you're speaking to prospects, right, John?
Very true. If you buy a shoe store, you've got to sell, X amount of new shoes every single month in order to bring in that same kind of revenue. And we really have this benefit of every time a policy is renewing, our franchise owners are receiving that commission income again. So they're building up a book of business as it would be considered here in the insurance industry. Their first year, any business is a tough model in its first year. You take a look at the numbers of what takes place in the second year. Well, now they're writing even more policies than they were in the first year, but now they're dealing with those renewals, and so you have this great increase in their revenue stream that's coming in. It's really nice to be able to imagine, you wake up on the first of the month, and you now can look back at the month previous, and you can take a look at the commission revenue that came in and know that you're going to be in that same kind of volume again this month without having to deal with necessarily finding 1,000 new customers. You think about the Jackson Hewitt model, for instance, or some of these other ones. It's amazing to me when I realize, and I see in some of these annual reports, that, for instance, they've only retained something like 53-57% of their consumers. That is kind of a shocking position to be in as a business owner if you've got to wake up January 1st and realize you need to replace basically half of your customers with new customers, and we really get this benefit of that residual. We get that customer coming in over and over again. And ideally, you'd love to have that customer, if you're offering that service and you're giving them a good product at a good value, you can have customers for 2, 3, 4, 5 years or more.
Great. John, what's the best way for our listeners to get more information on becoming a franchisee? Are there any websites they can go to, any numbers they can call?
Absolutely. Well, the first website that they definitely want to take a look at is fiestafranchise.com. Fiestafranchise.com will give them all the information that they need in making that kind of decision. And if they go through and they fill in the questionnaire, it'll even open up another site with some additional information. And, of course, then they can reach out to our corporate headquarters in Southern California, and that's 714-842-5420. And they can reach out to any one of our franchise consultants, and we'd be happy to answer additional questions.
That's great. I want to thank you again, John. You've been a fantastic guest, and I think you guys have a great franchise opportunity. And I'm sure you agree, Don.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you very much.
So long, John.
Take care. Thank you.
So thanks, everyone, for listening, and again, we'll talk to everyone soon.